What if I told you that one of the most powerful law enforcement positions in America is now held by someone many say has zero experience in the agency he's running? And what if a member of Congress, known for cutting through political theater, just laid out why she believes this moment is anything but normal? Stay with me, because Jasmine Crockett didn't just speak up, she detonated a truth bomb. And it starts with one blunt accusation: Kash Patel is the least qualified FBI director in modern history. Stay with me, because once you hear what she lays out, you'll understand exactly why she says nothing about this moment is normal.
Man, oh man, there has been so much today, and I truly don't know where to start. So I'm just going to make sure that we start off with a few facts. So a couple of facts that we need to make clear for everyone is that, number one, Director Christopher Wray, when he was appointed to be the head of the FBI, was appointed by Donald Trump. Now, I will agree that I definitely take issue with a number of decisions that Donald Trump makes, especially when it comes to the people that he decides to appoint to very important positions, including this one, because I did have to make sure that I wasn't going crazy. But when I say that you are the least qualified FBI director in the history of the FBI, that is real, because you are the only one that never even served with the FBI prior to joining, yet we are supposed to believe that
That's
you are
false.
the greatest thing since sliced bread. I didn't ask you a question. Now, what I want to go through is to talk about why you are a failure and why, honestly, we just need to tell you bye-bye. I know that you got a little upset and you put on your show for your boss because it seems like you're trying to save your job when it came to talking to Senator Booker yesterday. But let's go through some of your failures. So before you were even confirmed, and I think one of my colleague from Georgia, pointed out that you were already targeting career officials so that you could direct illegal firings. Mind you, these cases that you were so upset about, which are the ones tied to Trump, the cases came through his handpicked FBI director. And frankly, when people sit around and say things like, oh, you know, we're happy because now we feel safe, I don't know who feels safe in this country except for the white supremacists, because I specifically as a black woman definitely don't feel safe. And frankly, my colleagues have been real nice to you today, and I applaud them, but I don't have the same demeanor. Because I know that multiple colleagues on this side of the aisle have faced death threats. In fact, somebody tried to kill one of my colleagues, and frankly, I don't know if this FBI or under your leadership, if those people would have been caught. I don't have any confidence in you. And if we start talking about the reasons that I lack confidence, we could start with you not just wanting to acknowledge some simple facts. Simple facts like the vast majority of the threats are coming from right-wing extremism. And I know my colleagues have tried to stress this, but I decided that I would maybe do it in a different way. Number one, I have a couple of UCs. Kim Buck, one of multiple Republicans receiving death threats for voting against Jim Jordan as House Speaker.
Without objection.
Another one, Republican lawmaker says she received death threats after voting against Jim Jordan in Speaker's race.
Without objection.
In addition, there was another one from another colleague who now is leaving Congress because they said that they were calling his wife anonymously and threatening her life to the extent that she ended up sleeping with a firearm.
Without objection.
Okay, so here's the deal. How are we supposed to have confidence when you're sitting up here telling the Senate yesterday that it will take you 14 years before you can get the FBI fully staffed to do their jobs? You're also now redirecting resources so that they can go and play ICE agents on the streets. You're getting rid of your most qualified people, and even when it came down to somebody that you consider to be a friend, you were posted up having some fancy dinner to the extent that you posted not only once erroneously, you posted twice erroneously as it relates to catching somebody, and then you want to go and say, let me take a victory lap, because honestly, if it wasn't for parents deciding that they were going to turn in their child, it seems like y'all wouldn't have got there, even though he literally confessed online. So I'm confused about what it is that the FBI is doing except for trying to put on a show for the apprentice, or whatever you want to call him. The day after all of this took place, there was domestic terrorism that was taking place at HBCUs. They were targeted. Yet I didn't hear anything from the FBI about what was going on. And again, black people kept saying, how did we end up in this? Because the numbers are so very clear that white supremacy is a problem. And honestly, I've not heard anything out of you today that makes me believe that you're going to do anything about the white supremacy problem. The one that is leading to children being killed, children being shot, as well as members of their community as they're worshiping in their churches.
And here's where the shock hits. Crockett's argument starts with a fact that's so basic, and yet so explosive, you have to ask how we got here. Christopher Wray was the last Senate-confirmed FBI director. He was appointed by Donald Trump. And here's the twist, Kash Patel didn't rise through the FBI. Didn't do field work. Didn't investigate cases. Didn't lead inside the agency. For the first time in modern FBI history, the director has literally never served inside the FBI. Not once. Not in any capacity. And before you think Crockett is exaggerating, she's not. She's stating the objective resume gap. So then ask yourself, how is someone with zero internal FBI experience suddenly responsible for the most sensitive national security operations in the United States? How are communities supposed to trust this? How are career agents, people who've dedicated entire lives to national intelligence, supposed to see Patel as credible? And the biggest question, how could this not be political? This is exactly where Crockett refuses to sugarcoat anything. She lays out something almost unheard of. Before Kash Patel was even confirmed, he was already reportedly targeting career officials, preparing firings, and pushing political preferences into investigations that should be strictly fact-driven. That's not normal behavior. That's not even close to normal. And here's the part Crockett wants every American to understand. Many of the cases Patel criticizes were launched when Trump's own FBI director was running the bureau. So how does Patel point fingers at a deep state when the FBI leadership at that time was chosen by the same people now defending him? It doesn't add up. And Crockett makes sure you see that contradiction. But then the conversation turns from politics to real-life danger. Crockett looks at the hearing room and the country and asks, who actually feels safer under Patel? Because it's not the communities experiencing credible threats. It's not the lawmakers whose families are being harassed. And it's not the institutions tracking rising violent rhetoric. The environment is getting more dangerous, not less. And here's where her testimony cuts the deepest. Even Republican lawmakers, yes, members of their own party, have received threats so severe that they've openly feared for their lives. Not because of cartoon-level political drama, but because the climate has become so unstable that their safety is at risk simply for casting a vote leadership didn't like. If lawmakers are scared, imagine the fear in vulnerable communities across the country. Then Crockett exposes what she calls the most dangerous gap between what's happening and what Patel is willing to admit. The majority of documented threats come from right-wing extremism. That's not her opinion. That comes from long-standing FBI assessments before Patel took over. But Patel refuses to acknowledge it publicly. And when leadership behaves like threats aren't threats, who pays the price? Communities of color. Religious minorities. Journalists. Educators. Public officials. Everyday people who are already targets. That's why Crockett says Patel's silence isn't neutrality, it's neglect. But it gets even worse. Patel told the Senate he believes it will take 14 years, to fully staff the FBI. Crockett doesn't take that as a logistical challenge. She takes it as a warning sign that the agency is being hollowed out. Because instead of building up the FBI to handle rising threats, Patel is reassigning agents into unrelated enforcement areas. She says that's not how you fix an agency. That's how you bleed it out. Then Crockett points to something that should concern every single American who relies on the truth. Patel has posted incorrect, premature arrest claims online. Twice. Instead of calm, fact-based law enforcement leadership, she says he's chasing quick publicity hits. And when real domestic terrorism struck, when historically black colleges were targeted, there was no urgent, meaningful public response from Patel's FBI. For Crockett, that silence wasn't an oversight. It was a message. And the message was, some communities won't get protection, even when they are under attack. And this is where Crockett speaks from personal experience. She talks about representation, why it matters, why it changes outcomes, and why leadership without understanding can never be trusted. When she became a public defender, people saw someone who understood their struggles, their fears, their lives. That's not favoritism. That's legitimacy. And she argues Patel brings none of that. Not to her community. Not to the FBI. And not to the country. So ask yourself, How can the FBI earn public trust when its own director won't confront real threats? How can America feel safe when the person in charge of national security refuses to acknowledge what's putting Americans in danger? And how does any of this strengthen democracy? Crockett ends with one unmistakable truth: the FBI director's job should not be about politics. It shouldn't be about showmanship. And it absolutely shouldn't be about loyalty to a single person. It should be about independence, experience, integrity, and public trust, qualities she says Patel simply does not have. So here's the question I want you to answer: do you believe America deserves better leadership at the top of the FBI? Or do you think the criticism of Patel is overblown? Drop your thoughts below, your voice is part of this moment. And before you go, hit like, smash subscribe, turn on notifications, and share this video if you believe oversight matters, truth matters, and accountability should never be optional. The louder we get, the clearer things become, and the closer we get to real accountability.